All right. So this is a part 2 of Karen's episode. So we're talking about vision casting and strategic planning. And Karen spoke about it from kind of like the ESC perspective or more of like actually working through it with a district. But we're going to, or the why behind it,
Yeah,
I
kind of like
guess.
the
Yeah.
facilitator perspective and an overview of the process.
Yeah. So now we have a guest. We have Adam Puthoff, the superintendent at St. Henry. So Adam, will you just
Why'd you
talk
say that with a question mark on it?
Well, I didn't.
He's wearing
mean
his
to,
St.
like-
Henry shirt.
I
St.
was
Henry?
like, I
I
don't know
know.
why
She's
I'm
like, you
speaking.
need to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
She
I
just did.
meant-
She's like,
I-
I'm not
that-
sure
That's what
who
I was
he
like.
is.
Shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Like, will you introduce yourself after I already introduced you? But will you just tell them who you are and your background?
Yeah. So I'm going to be starting year 3 of superintendent at St. Henry Schools. I was an elementary principal there for 8 years prior, and then taught for 8 years in various districts prior to that. So again, becoming superintendent, one of the things that I wanted to do initially was uh, go through the strategic plan process to take a look at how can we be more intentional with the things that we're doing. So that's the benefits of the ESC and having resources here for us to tap into. And I did with Karen and Shelley, and we kind of took off from there.
All right. So we always start our episode off with either like a question or a little like activity to get to know you. So Karen, you can also answer these questions. So we're going to do this or that. So you have to choose one of them. There's no judgment.
Nope.
And you can't explain your answer.
You just
You
have
just
to
have
say
to
it.
answer it. Okay. All right. The first question: come in early or stay late?
Come in early.
Stay late.
Oh.
Oh, email or phone call?
Phone call.
Email.
It's like a married couple.
It is. It is. Okay. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Ooh, dog, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Big crowd or small circle?
Depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
Small circle.
Small circle.
Okay. Last one: podcast or Spotify?
Podcast.
Podcast.
Okay. So you guys came together at the end.
Yeah. Just the first two were
Like an old married
Like,
couple,
yeah,
yes.
completely.
All right, Adam. So Lindsay mentioned earlier that Karen kind of talked about like the meta level strategic planning. So can you share some insights on the strategic planning process from a district point of view?
I think the biggest thing is to make sure the priorities of the district match your community and the stakeholders within them. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was to reassure that the values and the priorities that we had as a district and as a leadership team followed that of our community and our stakeholders. So it's really diving in and acquiring feedback, whether it's through surveys, listening sessions, sit down conversations to ensure that voices are heard. And then you can kind of pull out those common themes that you consistently hear. And through the process as well, it kind of reaffirms some of your thought processes as well. I grew up in St. Henry. I'm a lifer there. And so I had my own thoughts about what the community would want and need. And this was just another way to confirm and refine some of those thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I know Karen talked a lot about the communication piece. So how do you get out the communication to the community in the right way?
I think that is by far the biggest challenge and will continue to be the biggest challenge moving forward. One of the things that I told a lot of people through this process in itself and many stakeholders was we need to ensure we don't stop talking.
Right.
Because the minute that happens, then people make their own assumptions about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I think it's important to ensure that there's an opportunity for dialogue. Newsletters are great. Emails are great. But at the end of the day, you need to continually have dialogue with your stakeholders in your community to ensure you understand their perspective and they understand yours. And it brings you together more as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I love the use of the word dialogue because
Yeah.
it's not a district talking at them. It's a district engaged in discussion with them. And I think that piece is critical, especially since you said you have been in St. Henry your whole life, which I would argue is almost even harder than an outsider coming in because you have your, you know what I mean? Like you've known St. Henry forever. Like,
and that was the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure people understood too, is that we don't know all the answers. We don't have all the solutions. But if we work collectively together, we can get there. In order to do that, you have to interact. You got to make sure that you're both putting forth effort to improve whatever it is that you might want to improve upon. Because everybody has different rankings of their priorities and what they think the focus should be right now. And that's something too through this process is it's a long journey. So like many people think you get a strategic plan, you put it in place, boom, solves all your problems. It
Right.
doesn't. It doesn't at
Mhm.
all. I mean, and I think you got to be okay with that. Prioritize and make sure you're making slow progress to ensure that it's a continuation of improvement rather than just we're going to get this done. It's going to be a quick fix because there is none in education.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I think I remember in part of your when you were designing your focus groups and the people you really wanted to be sure that you got their input, you were very intentional in going beyond the traditional, the booster groups, the senior citizen group that I know they have a luncheon periodically at school. He really was intentional about creating lists of who do we not often hear from that we really should engage. And I think he even challenged his board members to come back to their next meeting with a list of 3 or 4 people
Oh, that's a
that
great
they
idea.
Mhm.
thought maybe don't always get their voices heard. And also on the back end of the communication, as the plan was being developed, it was very important to him. And he constantly was talking about making sure the staff understood the why and also view themselves as ambassadors for this work. If they don't understand the process, the purpose behind it, and the outcome, they are not going to be able to be that brand ambassador.
Right.
And I would say that too with the communication component of it. And we're not there yet by any means, nor will we ever maybe get there. But I think that's the challenge of, your staff members, your teachers, your classified staff, your lunch ladies, call it what you will. How do you ensure that you keep them informed on the things in which you are doing so that they can be a positive spreader of news
Uh-huh.
of your district and the things that you do? And that is a challenge because how do you consistently make sure that you're reaching out to them? Because again, you can do that maybe through an email, but things get lost in translation in some of those
Mhm.
capacities. So how do you build, structures to ensure that those dialogues continue? I think that's an area too that a year before we dove into the strategic plan itself, I did a lot of that work with the staff. The year that we actually built it, it was less with the staff, more with the community and things of that nature. It's like, so we got to make sure that that continues to ensure that all stakeholders have an opportunity to express their thoughts and their ideas. Because for me, that's momentum, that's energy, that's fuel
Yeah.
to make improvements. Because I don't have all the answers, but collectively together we'll get there.
All right, Adam, you were talking about communication. So, what approaches or strategies have you found most effective for communicating a clear and compelling vision?
I think uh, the district leadership team component and comprising that collectively together of having representatives from each building sitting down monthly to have dialogues to help communicate clearly, then that can continue to spread within those buildings. I mean, you make your strategic plan brochure and try to outline some of those things, but the meat of that is through the actions in which you do and the dialogues in which you have. Are you consistently articulating the priorities that have been communicated to you from your district? So for me right now, it's more the driving force behind the things that we're doing, which is the goal setting within our buildings at a district level as well. But I think that is going to continue to be a difficult thing to do because it's got to be more through your actions and outcomes than it is, hey, this is what it is. I
Right.
mean, you can hang the posters up, you can do all those things, but at the end of the day, that's just it looks pretty. But what
Mhm.
people want are results, and I think it just helps direct you in the right path through that process.
Well, I would say 2 of the things that you do really, really well are the storytelling component. Uh, like you said, you can have the brochure, you can have the printed plan, and we can all read through a bulleted list of things. But when you get up there and passionately tell the story and really demonstrate your belief and commitment in this and in the district and the community, it builds that enthusiasm. The other thing that he does really well is ongoing progress monitoring and celebrating the wins.
Mm.
It might look as though, yeah, we only achieved 1 bullet. We have 5 more to go. Yeah, but we achieved 1 bullet and that's going to build the momentum to work on the next couple. So those are the 2 things that I feel like you are consistently good at. People have come to expect it from you, but it goes a long way because they feel you're being honest and authentic.
And I think that's it's been a struggle of ours too, is that to celebrate those things because in many capacities of things that we do, that's what we expect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, we're not looking to get recognition for everything that we do
Right.
because we feel that that's our duty as educators is to provide for our students
Mhm.
and continue to improve. So that's kind of been a learning curve a little bit of too of making sure that we don't forget to celebrate those little wins because for many of us it's like, well, that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So again, it's the tough thing to balance, I think.
And
So
I no, go ahead. You go. You go.
okay. Well, I was just going to say, so you were talking about telling your story. How do you tell your story to get it out there to everybody?
Yeah, I mean that's where I love the dialogues. I mean,
Mhm.
the
So when
biggest
you talk about that, like the dialogues, like is that bringing people in? Is that just being out in the
yeah,
community and
I would tell you
talking? Is it
going through the process of those listening sessions, sitting down with
yeah.
staff and the community at whole and everything else like that. At the end of every single one of them, people walked away going, "I never knew all that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so like rewarding when they left to go, you know what,
Mhm.
that's what they need. And it's like, but
Mhm.
how can you sustain that? How can you ensure
Right.
that everybody can be engaged in some way, shape, or form in that process? Because that was the beauty of it. Many of those listening sessions I left confirming and, really taking a deep breath and going, man, we are doing great things. Like these people
Mhm.
really are thankful for the work that we do. I don't always hear that. They don't
Mhm.
always hear my side. So this was an opportunity for us to share both. And I think everybody left like refreshed and
Yeah.
energized and ready to go and ready to work collectively together and allows me to build relationships with people that maybe I haven't had much
Mhm.
dialogue with, that they feel comfortable to have that dialogue now, hopefully moving forward, because you're starting to showcase that, no, you appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it was a huge win for all involved in that. And again, it provides you the fuel to keep going.
All right. So you both already kind of alluded to like celebrating the successes, the small successes. What other strategies do you use to break ambitious goals into those small, manageable steps for the district, the staff, the community, everybody?
But I think the big thing is you got that clear vision and what priorities do we have, and then from there, the people who do the work need to have their hands in creating what those goals and next steps are. So, like for us, okay, what are those 5 big priorities that we're going to really uh, pay attention to and make sure that are a part of everything that we do, and then from there, okay, at the elementary level, that elementary level people and representatives, what are the areas within these priorities do you feel we need to focus on right now? And then developing those goals. Same thing in the middle school, same thing
Mhm.
in the high school to allow the principals to have some ownership of that too and leading the same priorities that, obviously our district and stakeholders are articulated are important. And then how are you guys going to go about that within your buildings? And then having that accountability to themselves and each other rather than from the superintendent.
Yeah.
By no means is
Mhm.
this something that I'm dictating. It's something that I'm hopefully running along with them and supporting them through. So I want them to have the ownership. I want them to have creativity. I want them to be able to try new things and fail, but they need to know that they have permission to do so. So kind of part of the process there, but it's not this group or just these people. I think the more you can get involved, the better off you are, and the more success you'll have.
So, as you were like, you obviously went into this process probably with thoughts in your brain, right? And it sounds like you did a really good job of being collaborative. You don't have to state it explicitly, but was there anything when you were doing these dialogues and things, did you find things out that surprised you or that like threw you off of what you were thinking?
I don't know if it like terribly surprised me at all, but I guess I was just very excited to see the excitement that our community had for our school. I knew it was
Mhm.
there,
Right.
but to
Mhm.
get firsthand um, interactions, conversations, identifying certain things that might have had an impact on their kids.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Many of them too might live or work in a different district, saying, "Hey, you know what? We tried this here, and might be a way to opportunity to recognize." We had uh, Dana Clooney, who lives in or she teaches in Indian Lake, and she brought an idea up about how they recognize their seniors every year, senior spotlight.
Mhm.
Love the idea, so boom,
Mhm.
came back
Yeah.
from that listening session, talked to my high school principal Eric Rosenbeck, and he talked to our yearbook group, and they started designing them. Boom, we had them up and
That's
running. So
awesome.
it's
That is
it's not
awesome.
about reinventing; it's about using things that help celebrate your kids because I loved it. Because
Uh-huh.
every opportunity we would post one, I'd read about it. I'd see them in the hallway. Now I have conversation pieces
Yeah.
Yeah.
to have with
Mhm.
those students that I would have had
Yeah.
a long time ago. But it's just neat to see the accomplishments of your kids and the ongoing dialogues that continually happen from that. Just
Yeah.
continue to highlight
Yeah.
our kids.
Yeah, so that if culture is one of their big priorities, and then they might have a goal to improve the culture and the inclusivity and connectedness between our students, our staff, and our community. Well, where that senior spotlight, then that's an action step. That's
Yeah.
something we're
Right.
actually going to do, and who's responsible for it. And
Mhm.
Adam can't be the person that is designing all those things, you know. So that's where it comes down to taking a big picture idea and really narrowing, and then what, and then what, and how, and
Uh-huh.
when. And then when you get down to the how and when, that's when you can start checking off the boxes and be like, okay, we're getting the work done now. We're making
Right.
progress. Because if your goal is we want to build a more inclusive and supportive culture,
What does that look
right?
like?
What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah.
So did he have the idea for the senior spotlights? No, but a couple months in, a couple weeks in, okay, now we can do it. Now let's really brainstorm. How can we, make this come to fruition?
Yeah.
That was another component of it too. You know, you asked earlier, like, how do you celebrate successes and things of that nature? One thing that I tried to articulate too through the strategic plan is set goals up for things that we've already done. Like gives us an opportunity
Mhm.
to display and showcase and acknowledge the things that
Yeah.
we've already done. It
Yeah.
doesn't all need to be brand new things. It could be things that we're currently working on that now gives us a platform to
Mhm.
showcase the work
Mhm.
that we've done. So again, it's not all brand new things.
No.
You know,
Mhm.
what we've done for a very long time at St. Henry has worked.
Yeah.
So it's really honing in on why.
And I think that's really important for people to hear because I think a lot of times, especially even just hearing the word strategic plan, you think it has to be this like big,
Mhm.
beautiful thing with all these parts that you came up with. But recycling ideas from other places and making them your own, that's really what we do all the time in education,
Yeah.
right?
But that was some of the many of the questions are like, well, that I've gotten through this process. They're like, well, what is a strategic plan? I'm like, it's just an opportunity for us to be intentional and get better,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and rather than just flowing through the years and hoping things continue to improve or our school stays the way we want it to. Well, it's not going to just do that by chance. So what can we do to make sure that we're being more intentional with what we're doing and why we're doing it? And you can't go with the adage of, well, that's what we've always done.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not a good description of why you're doing something. So I think challenging some of those thought processes and continuing to find ways to to make St. Henry a better place for it.
All right. So, Adam, you talked a little bit about obstacles. Can you just share from your experience what are some obstacles to successful strategic planning and how do you navigate them?
I think some of the ones just from the get go of creating, the first strategic plan of the time that I've been at St. Henry is, stagnation. Like you don't want
Mhm.
this plan to sit there, collect dust, and then you do it again in 5 years and create another beautiful looking thing that then collects dust again. So
Ah,
I everything with that is it goes back to what I alluded to earlier, which you got to keep talking. We got to make sure we have processes in place to ensure dialogue, conversation, collaboration. So the district leadership team for us at St. Henry, we've never really had one. So this gives us an opportunity to bring different people within our district together to talk about how can we get better, look at our goals. Are there certain things that collectively as a group we can maybe address? So there's an opportunity to be heard.
mhm.
So a group that can maybe take those questions in, we can talk about it, and then that can help be communicated out. So stagnation for me is probably the one thing that these things can die if they're not led
Right.
appropriately or you're not dedicating the time for them. So I value the priorities that we came to. I value the feedback I got from our community. Um, as I sat in many of those listening sessions, I said, my pleasure to you is this won't be the last time you get the
Mhm.
opportunity to do this
Mhm.
because it was so valuable to me. Don't get me wrong, walking in all those listening sessions, I wasn't like, man, this is just going to go great. I had no idea what I was walking into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but I always left extremely grateful uh, for the community, the feedback, because you could tell they truly cared, and that's
Yeah.
I think what sets our district apart from many is just the everybody's seems to be on the same
Mhm.
page and they have the right thing and the priority one, which is the kids, and collectively working together. So uh, that is probably my biggest obstacle that I look at, but I think it's all controlled. You just got to make sure that if you want to keep moving, you got to have fuel to keep moving. And the fuel for me is feedback from our staff, students, and our community.
Do you think your students notice a difference in their day to day? I know it's probably a silly question, but like, do you think a kid would notice from prior to the strategic plan to what life looks like now?
I would say no, and the reason why I say that is because I don't think we've the strategic plan has not transformed our school.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't need transformed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just needed to be kind of more identified what those priorities are, and now we're ensuring that we stick to those. Now, I sat down with different student groups and had conversations. Again, that was very reassuring too of the things that we're doing.
They tell the truth.
They do,
Yeah.
because it goes from as far as a student saying, "I wish we had more CCP courses offered in our high school," and I said, "I agree with you, I do," but I said, "There's a way to go about doing that."
Yeah.
And then we kind of talked about, the perspective of, we could hire a whole bunch of people to teach these classes, but you still don't have to take them here. So that might be
Yeah.
a bad financial decision on my part. So like those dialogues were awesome. But then what they'd also articulated is that we love coming to St. Henry because the teachers view us as a person,
Mhm.
not as a number in their class.
Yeah.
And they really valued the close knit community, that people care about them. And it was very apparent that was the case, which is, I mean, for any parent or any
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
within a schooling system, like if kids feel that way, then we're doing our job. So we're making minor changes.
Yeah.
We're not transforming what we're doing because that would be a bad idea,
Mm-hmm.
because what
Yeah.
we're doing is working. So it's just reforming and refining.
Yeah, I feel like your strategic plan is not a complete overhaul of practices. It's formalizing some processes and really holding true to what do we value.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like a bellwether or benchmark. If anything new is going to happen or we're going to consider or have a conversation around this, it gives us a measuring stick kind of hold it up against. So this proposal or this idea or this thought, does it align with what we've spent a lot of time identifying as our priorities? So is it a complete transformation on the part of what students are seeing? Probably not, but minor tweaks go a long way, I think. And I think it's just a sense of unity. They're all working towards the same 4 or 5 priorities, and always that's going to be our measuring stick.
And even for us, like school spirit and school culture was something that was very, very well articulated, that our community values greatly. I would say, since like Mike Gass started as our head varsity baseball coach and started having them singing the fight song at the end of that, has spread like wildfire. This past weekend out at Minster, like that song, I could hear it after they won each game. And
didn't hear it yesterday.
Slow down, Karen. They would have played it on Sunday, different outcome. No, I'm just kidding. But those are the things to me that shows like, okay, there's some actions taking place. Do they understand in my perspective, the magnitude of what they're doing? They have no clue.
Yeah.
But they're doing that in spirit of their school and their buddies. And to me, that is so ungodly cool.
Yeah.
So it's continuing to find ways of how can we tap into that. For us, we didn't do district-wide pep assemblies for a while. It might have been since I was in school. I don't even know if we did them then, but we started doing those and getting everybody in one gym at one time. And it's unbelievable, the energy and the excitement. So, just those little things that make big differences at the end, which, we're going to continue to try to do.
All right. So Adam has an appointment after this. So I'm going to give the joke so that we can get him out of here.
Okay.
Adam, what's the best time to go to the dentist?
God, I don't like going to the dentist. That is not an appointment I had today, thank goodness. No idea.
At 2:30.